Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all well. And I've got the one and only Yorkshire Reefer here with me. Hi, Stefan. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
I've got a bit of a delay coming through on my end. You've got that?
Not really. Well, not that I can tell anyway.
Can you hear that as well?
Yeah, it's all okay for me.
Sorry, I'm getting. Hopefully that'll go away because we just had a test run then and it was perfect.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll just iron out. It's because there's like loads of people rushing to join, I reckon.
Yeah, it's a lot of my problem and nobody else's. There's no one else.
So I see we've got Norfolk Reefer with us. I said he's already given me a lot of questions for you. So yeah, it'd be good to go through a few of them. What I tend to do is just kind of go through what I've been up to this week, and if we go through some of the things maybe you've been up to this week as well, that would just kind of give us a chance to get everyone in the room ready. So a few of the things that I've been up to this week, you probably can't see it in the tank behind me, but I picked up a blue Linkia Sea Star the other day from one of my local fish shops, and it was an absolute bargain. I think they just didn't know what price to sell it for, so they sold it for 18 quid.
18 quid? Is it a big one? Is it a big one?
It's reasonable sized. It's, I don't know, about that big.
Right. Yeah.
It's I did have one before that was absolutely massive, but it wandered too close to the pistol shrimp's cave, and that was the end of it.
And powerhead look covered as well. They don't seem to be exposed like what happened to me with my starfish at that time.
Yeah, so I've got two Neros. I've got one at this end that's got the cover on the back, and I've got another one that I've just got here, but that hasn't got the additional cover on the back. So I'm going to 3D print one of them and stick it on just to make sure.
You never know. You never know. I'm just looking now. You can't really see the other powerhead over there. Actually, it's well hidden.
Yes, it's tucked away. So yeah, I'll pick. Go on.
I think I know where the delay is coming from. I'm terribly sorry. This delay is crazy, and I think I know why. Because I'm on the YouTube stream waiting for it to drop because I was looking at the thumbnail earlier. So,
oh, it's disappeared. I'm sure we'll be back in a minute. And there's a good little segue. We've got Spiritual Reefer in. Hi, Harry. Watched your latest video the other day. I really liked it. It was a little bit different. It wasn't just about a reef tank or a guy in front of a reef tank. You know, you're digging a little bit more into the. Just add.
Sorry, mate. I closed all the windows, including this one.
Oops.
Sorry.
So I was just saying, we've got the Spiritual Reefer in, who was at Coral Freaks. I don't know if you saw him.
Yeah.
And he's just dropped his latest video as well. So we're just having a little chat about that, where it's not so much just about a reef tank or about a guy in front of a reef tank. He's kind of talking about the well-being side of it and the mental health side of it, and there's sections of him out in the woods and things like that, out in nature.
Yeah,
which I thought was.
I saw one of those videos actually, and really well produced, and I really like the idea because there's a lot of, especially with Love to Reef and Coral Freaks, there was a lot of focus on mental health and stuff, and obviously having a fish tank, although it doesn't feel like it all the time, it does kind of take you away from reality a little bit every now and again. Well, nature does, doesn't it? Nature in itself.
Yeah.
So, so I saw his videos actually, and I thought, this is a refreshing channel, and I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did as well. It was just nice to have something that's a bit different, and I particularly liked the sign that he made. That was you got some cool gadgets. I like gadgets, so a little bit jealous of all your cool gadgets. What else have I been up to? So I said that I've picked up another Nero 5. I've also, so I'm just about to move house, which I'll come back to. But I also picked up one of these little TMC compact pumps to stick in the 25-litre containers for pumping. So I'm not having to lift them up constantly, so I can pump the water around rather than
Do they fit
lifting
inside,
buckets.
inside the hole at the top?
Yeah, they'll fit through the hole in a 25-litre container.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, so you don't have to. I've got a big, massive 220-litre barrel that I have to lug all the RO into because I can't carry 220 litres of water yet. I'm not that strong. So, it's a right pain, and then it doesn't matter because it's the lid for that is huge. So
yeah,
pretty cool. I'll check them out if they're that size.
Yeah, well, this is the 500, the smallest one they do.
I think I saw them at the Aqua show. Aqua. We went to Aqua this year.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember seeing how small they were.
Yeah. I like that the pickup's right on the bottom as well, and it kind of sits upright, so you can get all of the water out nice and easily.
Real.
I also picked up one of these for moving everything around because it's pretty full, that tank. And I've got to move it at some point. I'm hoping to move the tank the day before the rest of the house.
I did mine. It was the last thing I did. So I just left the tank running as long as I could. But that was because we've been through this just recently this year because we bought a house for the first time and it needed a lot of renovation. So I had to get floor down where I was in. I'm still going to be doing a video on that, but I'm so behind with edits. I haven't had a chance, but I had to go under the house to check which way the joists were running and everything because it was a complete project that we needed to do up a little bit. So it is a nightmare, but if you've got another pair of hands, you'll enjoy it. I enjoyed the move, and I only lost one fish, sadly. I didn't lose anything else, but I did lose the flame angel.
Yeah, okay. I'm hoping, like I say, I'm hoping to get the tank moved the day before, and then I can spend all day doing it, and just do it in like a relaxed, controlled manner, rather than doing it the same day that I'm moving the whole rest of the house, which is a bit of a manic day anyway. So like I say, I'm hoping to get in a day early. It's looking like that's going to be possible. Don't know when that's going to be yet. The date is hopefully going to be in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, getting that in, that would be nice. And then hopefully, because it's a bit cramped in here, hopefully I'm going to get a bit more space to film in as well, making videos a little bit easier as well.
Good. I remember when we completed on the house, it was about 6 months wait until we moved. And I'd recently got over a bit of a tank crash a year before, and I didn't buy any corals. For 6 months, I wanted to stock the tank, but I thought I can't justify doing that when I've got to move everything again. And so add more animals that I have to then move because obviously I can see yours, all the rock in yours is pretty stacked with corals. And you'll be snapping bits that come off in the boxes and then having to readjust it. And it was a nightmare, but it was really, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to kind of rearrange everything in the tank. You set it all up, and then as you start filling it up, you start thinking, but it would be better if this was here, or if I moved that. It gives me a chance to kind of do all of that again. What else has been in my week? I've made a little bit of a hypocrite of myself. I picked up a copper band last weekend.
I can see the copper band swimming around. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to a few local fish shops with Norfolk Reefer. Met up with him. He had a couple of frags off me, so we met at one of the shops and then toured around a couple more. And I saw this copper band. I was like, yeah, I've got to have that. So I picked it up.
Lovely fish. The lovely fish.
Yeah, it's not particularly settled at the moment. I got it at the weekend, so it's only been in a few days. I'm hoping it kind of settles down a little bit over the next week.
Yeah. Do you know what you got, Steve? I don't know if you've already got one, but there's a Johnny from Aqua does a really cool feeder for copper bands, which you probably would have already seen it or know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. They're really quite. I used it when I had one, and then I rehomed mine because the yellow tang was trying to kick 10 bells out of him every day, so I had to rehome him. But it was really good because he could feed off that, so it was good.
Yeah. And what did you put in it?
Just well, back then I was still feeding frozen mysis, so I'd cut a little bit of cube, put it in, and as it would slowly dissolve, the copper band could get its nose in and pick at the food before obviously the other fish had a chance to get out. That's the thing with copper bands, when you just open feed, the other fish tend to get all the food before they do. So
yeah, I've noticed mine's not particularly interested in the mysis at the moment. It's going through the tank, picking off all the pods. I can see it hunting them, but it's not when I put the frozen in. It's like even when it floats past it, it's like, yeah, I'll just eat those pods over there.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to in the last week then?
Oh, it's been a week from hell, like an absolute week from hell for reefing wise. Yeah. So I attended, which we'll touch on probably a bit later in the episode. I attended a new shop's opening day, iReef, and got some corals, as you do. And in the moment, I was like, oh my gosh, Australian stripies. I've always wanted Australian stripies, so I ended up picking up some stripies. You'll have probably seen the video, and anyone who follows me will have seen the video. Within 24 hours, I got them out of the tank. They were chewing my acanthophilia. So I got up in the morning, I had a coffee, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with that coral? So I was looking at the coral, and I was going, and then I saw the white string off it, and I thought that's damaged tissue. That's not sulking. It's sulking, but it's due to some damage. And then I just set the camera up as I was cracking on with some work and reviewed the footage, caught them in the act, which is what I put in the video. So I had to get them out, which fortunately was made a breeze with the Nios fish trap, because usually when you're catching fish with a net, you're knocking rocks and corals and everything else. But I thought I'll just give it a go, and I've had it for about a year, not used it. And just literally just stuck some nori on the inside, and they went in. And then I thought, oh, the rest aren't going to go in now because they've seen the fate of the one that went in first.
Yeah.
And they still all went in, caught them all. They went. And then a bit later, sort of at the weekend, the foxface was nipping at the coral as well, the same coral, the acanthophilia, which probably was because it was injured.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And this foxface I got when it was super small. And I actually had to argue with my partner. Like, he has to go. He has to go. Because she was like, oh no, he's our baby. We're going to lose this big. And anyway, I managed to convince iReef to help me out. And they've actually put my foxface in their display. So he's gone. But yeah, it's been a nightmare. Just like anxiously getting up every morning. First thing I'm doing is checking everything in the tank. Is everything okay? Is there something else going on? And actually, the coral, the acanthophilia, seems to be coming back around now and actually looking like a meat coral rather than a button skull. So that was I mean, obviously, the usual wars of reefing have happened, but that was like definitely the highlight. Like two fish or two species of fish in 1 week that had to be rehomed.
Yeah.
And of course, I forgot another thing that happened, which was great. I went to see David Saxby's aquarium. I had a day with David Saxby. Yeah.
I saw your little sneak peek video on that. That looked amazing.
It was incredible, yeah, because it was a very last minute thing. Very last minute. I met him at Coral Freaks, met him before as well, but I'd done the video and he'd phoned to say that he's really grateful for the video we'd done. You were there as well, Steve, when he received the award.
Yeah.
And we agreed that I'd go down, and he was like, yep, the sooner the better sort of thing. So a day came when I had the opportunity to go down. I just got the LNER train down, a couple of hours, jumped off King's Cross, tube to Paddington. And it was insane. Going in and seeing it in person is just very different. It doesn't, There's no video that's really done it justice, and even upon reviewing my footage, I still don't think I've done it as much justice as I should have. It is an incredible aquarium, and he was actually David was great that day. You know, I can be quite unique with my approach to videos, I guess, but David was all for it. You know, he was locking me in the sump rooms, telling me that the heron outside is to scare visitors off, and it's not bloody working, is it? It was good fun, and he was. It was. I can't wait to share the video because it captures his tank's been done quite a lot of times, hasn't it? We've seen it in several videos of his tank, but we've done it a very different way this time.
Yeah, good. Look forward to seeing that. So the sneak peek you put on was it definitely left me wanting a bit more.
Oh, well, that's good. Hopefully you'll tune in for it then.
So who else have we got joined us? We've got Tom from the Reefing Network.
How you doing, Tom?
We have Coral Head.
I want to be. I know exactly who that is. I've already told you I'm in a relationship. Stop this.
We've got Dan's Reef with us as well.
You all right, Dan?
New England Rugby.
I'm changing to the salt. Denial. Should I do more frequent changes but less percent? Not that I would do the same, 10%, 20%, whatever it is for that one. Steve, I'm not sure if you are using Pure yet, but by the way, good choice. Incredible salt. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's next on my list. I started off with Tropic Marine Pro Reef, then I moved to Red Sea Blue Bucket.
Yep.
I then tried Red Sea Black Bucket, found that it kept my magnesium, calcium, and my alk a little bit higher than I wanted. So I went back to Blue Bucket, but NIOS is next. I'd literally just bought a bucket of Blue Bucket when I decided that I'd try NIOS. So that's the next bucket of salt I buy will be some NIOS to try.
Yeah, hopefully when you can stick. I like the you can literally see on top the readings of the parameters in that bucket, which I think is really nice because if you go to a store that have got a selection of buckets, could be from different batches. But I actually was lucky enough to visit, Steve, and they will not put any salt out that is not in the right parameters, which I thought was really quite nice.
Yes. Yeah. It looks like they've put a huge amount of effort into that salt.
And you'll get more time back on water changes. Literally 3 minutes. Cold. 3 minutes. If I can get away with saving some money, we'll save some money as well because it's a pretty decent price, but saving some time, I'm all for it. So anything I can do to be a lazy reefer, I will do. Yes.
Who else do we have? We've got Gil's Aquarium with us. That did make me chuckle when we were at Coral Freaks and he won the bucket of NIOS.
Was he the guy
on there on his motorbike?
Yeah, I think he was the guy. Was he the guy with the motorcycle, the Honda? I think it was a Honda or a Kawasaki. It was a Kawasaki. I remember. I was quite envious because I have a bike as well, and I was like, I'd love to have gone home on a bike because I had to sit in the car on the way home. But I did think, how the hell is he getting that salt back? Like, did you just have rock straps in your sack just in case? I'd like you to know how he got that back. Did he take it back that day? Do we know?
I think he got. Was it Tom? You have to let us know in the comments, Gil. I think Tom took it back for him. I think actually, if I remember correctly, he mentioned it in the Friday night stream. I think he's still got it. He's holding it to ransom. We've got UKM in with us as well. Hi there. Tropic Marine. What's that? Comment about Tropic Marine. Oh, 115 per bucket. I'm sure it was when I picked it up, because it was the first salt I used, and I literally thought, it's only salt. They'll all be the same. I'll get the cheapest bucket, and it was cheaper than anything else.
115 is insane.
Yeah.
And I think NIOS is 60 something, and it's 65 quid or something, 67 quid.
Yeah, I think it's a bit cheaper than the Red Sea stuff, but it's 20 kilos instead of 22, isn't it? So it works out about the same price per kilo, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, Gil said he's been using it for a year. I've not been using it that as long as Gil, but I haven't. I literally can't say anything bad about it yet. I've had pretty decent results. Salt's a big talking topic. I notice it on a lot of live streams, and it becomes a bit of a religion with people. You know, it doesn't everything in this industry.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a. I mean, what salt did I start with? I think the first ever salt I had was Aqua Salinity, which is a Seachem brand. It was a good salt. But I just happened to try one day a different salt. as it happens, you kind of. So yeah. So you're yet to try it, Steve. Interesting.
Yeah. Like I say, I've got probably half a bucket of the blue bucket left. And depending on how much fresh water I make up when I move, I'll probably burn through that other half a bucket pretty quick. So I can't imagine it's going to be much longer before I'm on the NIOS. So I've also got tendering wood turn in here. So I actually work with this guy in the day job and not the hobby. He did have a marine tank, and he sent me a video one morning. He'd gone downstairs, and the seam at the top here had started to split.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a Red Sea tank. Before everyone says, Red Sea tank, it wasn't a Red Sea tank. And yeah, it was just throwing out water all over his floor.
Really?
What a nightmare.
Did you save any livestock, or was it?
Yeah, luckily, I think because of the wood turning side of the business of what he does, he had one of those massive clamps. So he basically just clamped the panel back up and stopped the leak, and called the local fish shop to come and collect all the stuff.
That is a level of anxiety I never ever want to wish upon anybody. I would hate that. That.
So I had an Aqua 120 mini Reef, I think it's called, and it only had one drain, so it didn't have an emergency drain, and I was forever playing around with the balance on the gate valve, and it would go too high and then too low, and then I was speaking to a guy in one of the fish shops. He said, if you get this certain brand of pump, which I won't mention the brand, you can get these controllers that also have a level monitor, and it will speed up and slow down your return pump to keep the level consistent. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. So I got in contact with the tech support, and they're like, yep, it definitely does that. Set it up like this. Gave me all the instructions how to set it up. Set it up. It's running beautifully. But it relies on a connection to their server. So when their server went down one night, and the motor was in speed up 1% every 2 minutes, it just carried on doing that until it got a connection to the server again. So it ended up dumping all of my water all over the floor.
Seriously? Over the top of the tank?
Yeah. Oh. So it filled the tank up, and started cascading out, and then the sump obviously filled up with RO, and then it started pumping RO into my top tank.
Yeah.
And luckily, because RO floats, it didn't kill the livestock. Well, it killed 1 starfish and 3 coral.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
No, I think that's sadly how most of us tend to learn, though, isn't it? Is by trial and error and trials and tribulations. So
this was Easter Sunday this year. And I was because it wasn't the first time it happened either.
Yeah.
It had happened a couple of times, and I was so fed up. I went on Facebook Marketplace and like, Red Sea tank, just something with a dual drain, Reefer 250. It was like an hour's drive away. I'll go and get that. And I got there, and it was 5th floor flat, no lift.
I swear I got my 325 under the same circumstances. It was a flat, 3 stories, not 5. And I was like, how the hell are we going to do this? Like, and at the time I was using Radical Aquatics, who are a store that were in Leeds. And I went in and told Andy, who's the owner, and I said, oh, I've got to get this tank. And he gave me these suction things that you stick on the tank and you clip them on. And anyway, we did it with the glass, and I was so anxious all the way down because you just thought if they slide off, game over. And I had to exchange the money before we actually got the tank. And then the cabinet. So we didn't flat pack the cabinet, and I was like, oh, let's stick them onto the side of the cabinet. That's a great idea. It'll work. It didn't. It just ripped all of the paint off the cabinet, and it just dropped. And I ended up smashing the left, because they're quite heavy, the left side of the cabinet. So, I mean, it wasn't too bad, because when I got back, I just literally, because I wasn't in a rush, I already had my other tank. I just resprayed it and mended the panel. But yeah, same story. And I mean, did you manage all right with that?
Yes, yeah. Luckily, one of my friends, I've got an estate kind of SUV style car, but it wasn't quite big enough to fit everything in. So my friend followed me over in his BMW i3, and which you can fit a deceptively large amount of stuff in. And yeah, I think we put the cabinet in his, and the sump and the main tank in mine, and then drove back. And then yeah, Easter Monday I spent putting all that together and moving all the livestock over, and the other one out in the garage.
It is like Christmas for us, isn't it? Like setting up a new tank is like Christmas. It's the most exciting. Even just getting a new piece of equipment is just, it brings back that, like, 19, whatever it is, 5-year-old child that you were at the time at Christmas, where you get a box and it's like, what, and I think setting up a tank, because I did it with the new tank I've got behind me. And I remember just really enjoying just like spending my day when I could be doing so many other things, like building a flat pack cabinet. Oh, actually, the point to this is I'd been assembling flat packing furniture for weeks, because we just moved in here. And you'd think I'd be like, oh my God. And I was actually like, oh yeah, new tank, yeah. I'll film this, I'll make a video, look. So yeah, it's did you enjoy it, even though it was Easter?
Yes, yeah. I think it was more knowing that, because what was happening, because it had overflowed a few times like this, the server connection was a little bit flaky, and it had overflowed a few times. I was actually waking up in the night 2 or 3 times and coming in to this room and checking to see if it had overflowed or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not even sleeping properly. It's like,
I don't know how your friend had clamped the tank together and not had a moment of anxiety-free time. Because like I said, I genuinely wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, what's new today? Oh, it's not a new feeling, it's a stress feeling. It's the tank. I must go downstairs and check that nothing has been eaten or jumped out or whatever else is typically was. So.
Yeah, that it's like you said earlier, it can be really good to disconnect from the daily stresses and just watch your tank, but also it can be mega stressful. Yeah,
I mean, I'm struggling at the minute with my magnesium. I don't know why it's been. Okay. It seems to be, the uptake seems to be quite significant recently. But then I have noticed there is a lot of coralline algae growing in there, and I know that can take up a little bit more of that. There's all sorts that goes through your head. Are the corals not taking it? Why are they taking it up? What's going on with this? So yeah, I mean, it's just, again, it's one of those things, and luckily I've got Trident monitoring it, so I can check it every day to see the trends and whatnot and add what I need to add. But still doesn't take away the fact that it's like having another baby. It's like, especially when you start getting your wins. When you start getting your wins, like things start growing out, and your torches you get new heads on your torches. Your sowas are growing. Your SPS has got white tips. It's growing out. It's like, yeah, it's working, whatever. And then you're like, oh no, it's not working. I need to get it fixed again. And I suppose actually sometimes, like, I've not stressed too much, and actually it's gone back to where it was. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the hardest parts of reefing, isn't it? Not reacting too quickly.
Yeah. Again, it's like
when it's going wrong, you want to fix it straight away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, he said he lost about 100 litres on his living room floor when that tank split.
Did he have to replace the floor?
I think, if I remember, Will, I'm pretty sure you actually got away without having to repair it. I think the only problem was it was like a 5 or 6 foot tank, and when it was taken away, he realised he needed to decorate all behind it. So he ended up having to redecorate the room because it had been covered up by a tank for years. Who else have we got? Jeez, there you go. It was great to see your tank on the Discord server the other day, Tom. But yeah, 2 water changes out of a bucket of salt, and I'm guessing that's the 22 litre bucket of salt. So that's a lot of water.
How many percent? How much percent? What's his size again? I can't remember. What's his capacity in his aquarium? Tom's, is it?
Yeah, I can't. It was big. It was a 6 by 2 by, I think it was 2.5 foot tall, I remember. But yeah, it was a big tank, definitely.
That's crazy.
Who else have we got in with us? We've got Hayley with us today. Hi, Hayley.
Reef Geeks. Yeah, it's not wrong.
And what else we got here? Mad Shep's Reef as well.
Feet exposed.
And Jay's just popped in. Jay's Real Reef. Hey Jay, how you doing?
Oh, cheers, Jay. Thanks, mate. Nice to hear from you. Yeah, it was good. It was a good birthday. Thank you. I was at my birthday after Coral Freak, so I left having to go back for my birthday. And as Jamie Craggs was breaking open Acropora for their eggs, and I was like, I need to hit the road, which is why I said earlier I wish I had my bike, because I could have probably stayed an extra hour.
So that kind of takes us to the point of the all of the questions that I would say everybody had sent me, but they have all come. I think there might be 2 in here that I added, but apart from that, they've all exclusively come from Norfolk Reefer, because I think he had a lot of questions for you.
Really?
So
can I pass? Do I have any passes? Do we have any passes on this live stream?
yeah, you just need to be like a politician. Answer it, but don't answer it.
Can do that.
So the first one, I don't think there's going to be any you need to pass on. It was interested in how you first got into reefing.
Oh gosh, my dad, back when I was in nappies. My dad was a old school 90s reefer, so usually back then it was very brown, very ugly, lots of arguments with. I don't remember any of this. I was very, very young, but there are pictures of me, and my mum says she used to have one of those things that we don't do them anymore. And I've got 3 kids, and I'd love to get one just for the giggles, but. You know, you used to pin those things up above doors and sit babies in it, and they just bounce and connect to the door. Yeah. That's why I had one of them, and apparently it was a bit like where my tank is now, where the door is. And she says you used to just sit there and you just wanted to just look at the tank, which is really. I suppose I didn't have a tank for so long because I was in bands and stuff, and I was like doing very different things, and I didn't have that commitment time. So I've always been really, really interested, and never really that interested in trops. So I never did a transition from trops to marine.
Okay.
And then obviously I had kids and settled down a bit, and me and my dad were talking because my dad still kept his reef tank, so he kept reefing and sort of. This is where it gets funny. Sort of modernized his reefing setup, because he's very old school in his ways. Doesn't believe in the methods that we use these days. I did it with pretty much. Tasting the salt on my tongue to know what salinity is, whatever undergravel filters, you know what I mean. Yeah. So he was, he was still doing it, and I just thought, all right, I'm going to get a tank, and I got a Fluval Evo, 52 litre, all in one little tank.
Yeah.
And then at the time, I remember I was still playing rugby and stuff, and I was joking with the guys at rugby, going, I'm going to create an Instagram account and post pictures of my fish tank, and I absolutely got the piss ripped out of me for it. And it was like, no, it's really nice. And it's like on Instagram, you put music with videos and it just looks really nice. And I did it just more of an archive for me to go back in time and look at things. And as the fluvial tank got more established, Instagram sort of like just became a thing. And it was like I was dedicating quite a lot of time to doing Instagram. And then I unfortunately had quite a bad injury through rugby and had 2 meniscal surgeries. So I sort of had to give it up and put my time and effort into reefing, really, learning more about the hobby. And I got really serious about 3 years ago. And just that's kind of how the journey began. It's always been something I've interested in and always asked questions. But I found I probably should have done it sooner because I was always asking questions to my dad about his tank and stuff and the fish that he'd got and why he's got no corals because he had a predator-only tank. He went through the phases that we all go through. Or unless you're me, you just get another tank and another tank and another tank. So, that's how it sort of started and where it sort of, how it sort of got me to here.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, interesting that you didn't go the kind of normal route into tropical first and then moving on to marine.
No, I remember specifically going into the pet shop and it was a proper pet shop with reptiles and fish and goldfish. And it was just that blue area with the orange clownfish. And I was like, I just really want to do it, So I just took the plunge and got a fluvial Evo and sat there and learned about it really. And then I got a bigger tank, had tremendous amounts of failures with that, like throwing rock in, not understanding how the bacteria works and thinking, it should be all right now. I can stick another fish in and, having nitrate phosphate issues and not really getting it. Which is kind of what inspired me now to take the channel a little bit more seriously. It's like, well, if I can prevent someone killing a fish or a coral, then I'll be quite happy with myself really. But people are very impulsive. It's a very slow hobby.
Yeah, I think the impulsiveness is not as bad as it used to be because I've had fish for quite a few years. I haven't had marine for a huge amount of time, but I've had fish for a lot of years.
Okay.
And you would see a fish, and if you like the look of it, you had to then write down the name of it, go away, look it up, work out whether it's compatible with your tank, or rely on what the shop tells you. But nowadays you can walk in and the data connections and internet access is so easy. You can just search it as you're in the shop.
You don't have to feel like an idiot. Asking questions. I do it all the time. I'll Google something, trying not to ask the question. Especially if I go into some stores, people may have seen videos that I might have made, and I'm like, I still don't know it. I still don't know. There's still questions I have, about certain things. And Google saves my ass so many times with that.
Yeah. So the next question I've got here is what were your thoughts on Coral Freaks?
It was great, wasn't it? I absolutely loved it. I think it was. I don't know if or I think I told you actually, but I actually had to. I didn't have to. I wanted to do the coverage of the event, is what I should say. But because I was doing that, I was technically in a work mode, so I couldn't really fully enjoy the talks. I was checking the cameras, checking the audio, and actually, when I got back and started to edit the episodes, I did catch a lot of it whilst I was there. But then I quickly had to go, oh no, I need to check that and do this. It was amazing, to be at that show and hear those conversations that were had. Tony Vargas and all his stories. Although I must say, Tony Vargas told me all his stories the night before over dinner, because we somehow ended up at the table for two, and it's like just showing me all these pictures from back in the day and these corals that you just can't get. But no, it was like listening to Tony and obviously Jamie Craggs, as always, is just absolutely fascinating. And then Pat and Trina, they had possibly one of the best talks of the show, in my opinion. I think the stuff that Pat was talking about in the way that and Trina, about the way they developed the AB Plus and how they came around developing that schedule and the things they do with their suppliers and the importing of corals and how just how it all works, I think was a really interesting insight that probably a lot of people haven't heard before. So I was quite pleased to put that episode together and get that out. And obviously, and then we had Than finishing off the show with from Tidal Gardens, who many of us have watched for years on YouTube. So it was just, I think it was a great event. I mean, what would you say, Steve? You were there as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wasn't sure what to expect from it because it was kind of billed as this kind of live audience session, and I didn't know how that was going to come across. And I was half there to get some content, but not massively. So I bought some of my stuff with me, and I set up and I thought, you know what, I'll just record like a few minutes of each presenter, just to have a little bit of each one. So I recorded a bit of Tony's, and then Jamie Craig's come on, and I started recording, and I got so engrossed with what he was telling me that I actually recorded the whole thing. I think I might actually now be a member of his fan club. It was, I found it really interesting, and to just kind of see some of his updates on social media of some of the work that he's doing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard him before. What, did you go to Love to Reef?
No, I just missed it.
Ah, okay. That was the first time I'd seen Jimmy Craggs doing something and talking on corals and everything. And I had the same thing as you. I covered Love to Reef, and actually went into the talks because it was only one sort of like one day. And I went in and I realised that the show was finishing in half an hour and I'd not done anything else. So I'd gone in and just got stuck in and absolutely engrossed in what Jamie was talking about. So we've all been there, Steve. You'll be the first and you're not the last.
Yeah. Right, I see we've got a few more people in. I think there was a few questions as well in here. So who else? We've got the Welsh Reefer is in with us as well.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah, I'll see quite a bit of his stuff on TikTok.
Yes.
What else? Yeah, so I've got Tom's tank is 9 foot, so it's a bit more than 6 foot.
I thought it was 1,500. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a monster tank, and I'm sure this Tom could probably get away with murdering someone. He's so meticulous at planning. I think he could plan everything he needed to completely get away with murder. The planning that went into his setup was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was great to see that. Got a question from Jay. Do you ever run a lid?
Yeah, I do. On the aquarium, I'm assuming that's what that means. Yeah, 1 second. They're here. These are my lids. So these are my lids that I use. There's the feeding lid has come off, but check this out. Can you see the rows on there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So these are my lids, custom lids from Top Lids in Florida. And I was like, I saw them on Instagram, and then we had a chat, and I was just like, oh, how do I get these lids? Like, they're so minimal and clean. But obviously, sometimes when I do videos and I'm on obviously a stream tonight, I take them off. I do prefer the tank without a lid for videography and photos, but yeah, I have a lid on all the time. Again, if you've heard what I've said, I am incredibly anxious about this tank, so I'd rather sleep as well as I can by having a lid. And they do have these feeding pots, but what's really cool is I have like the Neptune auto feeder on there, and it's got like cutouts for that on here. Perfect cutouts for the RMS brackets on as well here. It's just a really, really well-made lid. So yeah, that is my lid. I do have a lid. It's the answer.
Okay, excellent. I saw a post on a WhatsApp group, and they were closing down their tank. They sold all of their livestock and all their coral left in. They then sold the tank, and they were clearing the space, redecorating, and then putting a massive tank in. And when they moved their tank, they found like 5 crispy fish underneath it on the floor.
That happened. Yeah, I found an anthea when I moved house. That was it. Actually, I thought. Well, no, actually, I didn't think I'd find more. I know they've all my fish have got names. So they're like part of the family.
So you know as soon as one's gone missing.
Oh, 100%, yeah, 100%, yeah. Or I'll speak to Roberta, who's my partner, and I'll go, "Have you seen what Delilah or whatever the fish is today? Where is she? Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen her." And then all night we'll be just looking in like, "Oh, she's there. She's come out. She's there. She's there."
Yeah, I did. So I had to move some of my rock. I was in the tank the other day, and I moved something, and a bit broke. And I was like, "Oh, I've now got to move it around." And I moved it round, and I did what I didn't think is that was probably the bit that my Midas Blenny used as his house.
Yeah, I've done this.
And then I suddenly thought about it earlier, and I was looking in the tank thinking, I can't see it. I can't see it anywhere. And I think I've broken his house. He's probably really not happy. But I think it broke. I think it looked like it was his house, but the house was a hole in the lower rock. Yeah. So removing the upper rock didn't actually break the house for him. So it's fine.
I'm just wondering if you could see where he is on here. If I can get that on the camera, he's in here. He's in a hole in there.
Okay.
No, but I did the same.
Can't quite see it.
I did the same thing with him, and when I moved in here, we put the rocks in, and I put it upside down, and he was inside this upside down, and he was like, "Where's the Midas Blenny? Where is he gone?" And he's got a name. What is his name? Where is he? Where is he? And then we had this moment like, "Oh shit, we put the rock in the wrong way around. He's probably in there." And lo and behold, we pulled the rock, and he just came swimming out because he was strapped. Yeah, be careful when you're moving house. Don't do that.
Yeah. Right, we've got another question in the comments here. What's the hardest thing you've found with being such a celebrity now in the hobby?
I don't even know what to say. I tell you what, I love every opportunity that I'm getting at the minute to do shows and things. And I suppose if to answer it on a serious tone, it would probably be when I am doing a video or filming, like trying to get the video done, because you'll often get distracted when someone's talking about something, because you're in more and more environments where fish and corals are, and you'll see someone here, or you'll hear someone talking about sweet lips or something else like batfish, and you go, "Oh," and then it's the distraction, I guess. Now it's like I'm distracted all the time, and I think one of the hardest things when you put videos out as much as I do is creating original content every day, 365 days a year. Easy. I don't ever really recycle videos. They're always quite new. Everything's a new idea. So usually if I'm going to cop out, I'll just get a nice slow shot of the tank and some nice music, revert back to the early days of Instagram when it was just, not making Roberta brush her teeth with skimmer juice and
Oh, I see we have Rob in with us tonight as well. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
And we have a question from Harry, Spiritual Reefer. What advice would you give to a new reefing content creator?
Enjoy it. You don't ever want to feel burnt out by it, especially in this. I think is be consistent, enjoy it, and one thing that I will always do is I'll watch something that I've edited back, and if I'm not happy with it, I'll just re-edit the video. So I kind of tend to like leave a video and I'll go, and if something don't feel right, I won't post it unless I'm really busy and I'm just like, oh, forget it. I'm working on this. I'll just get that one out. Just be happy and consistent is my main thing I'd say to people.
Yeah, I like to have a few stacked up on YouTube ready.
Yeah.
So because I think you have to be in the right frame of mind as well to make the video. And then if you get a week and you just don't feel like it, or you're not very well or something, it doesn't matter because you've got one in the bank ready. And there's a couple of videos that I've tried to shoot, and I've done it 4 times now, I think. And I've just recorded one recently. It was the 4th time I've done it, and I'm finally happy with that one. So that's kind of gone on to YouTube, scheduled to, I think it's coming out on Sunday, either Sunday or a week on Sunday. So yeah, it's just like you say, you having that
I think
not perfectionist, but making sure you're happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you've got, and I suppose now is the time for me to do that, because I am not going to any shows now till after Christmas, and I'm not really doing many store visits. I'm catching up with what I've already got, and I want to be in that, like you, that place where when you aren't feeling it, or you've got a cold, or the kids have brought something back from school, and you're just not feeling it. You've got something to put out, because it is hard when you're not feeling it. Another thing I'd probably say though is like social media platforms and stuff, like where do you want to sort of like take it? If it's YouTube or Instagram, and regardless of what it is, I think just don't focus on the numbers. That's the last thing you can do. I never look at the views or the likes. I literally go on the business suite to control and try to respond to all the comments. And then once a month or something, I'll check the stats of how my videos performed, what reach I've got, etc. But I tend to not focus too much on the numbers. I have found TikTok seems to be incredibly easy to get numbers on. I only joined that in, I think it was January, because I was like, oh no, I don't want to join TikTok now because I've already got Instagram. I've just started the YouTube channel. I'm not yet properly active on Facebook as well. That's something I need to do. I'm feeling a bit like I did in January about TikTok. I'm like, nah. And then I set the TikTok up and obviously recycled a lot of content, did some fresh, because TikTok tend to like just point and shoot, let's go, kind of almost chaotic. And I found that TikTok was really quite an easier platform to grow on, I think, but I'm still a bit on the fence with it. I am on TikTok and I'm active on TikTok, but it's a bit, I do like my Instagram. I'm a big Instagram fan.
Yeah, and I think it can be a bit of a struggle to try and maintain them all.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I mainly do YouTube. I do put some TikToks on. I do have an Instagram and a Facebook, and I'm just a little bit hit and miss. I'm a bit inconsistent on those other platforms.
Yeah, I'm incredibly inconsistent on OnlyFans as well. I rarely post on there. I'm just kidding. I do not have an OnlyFans account.
There were people looking then, I bet. So I don't know who you're talking about, Rob, whether you're talking about Stefan's tank or mine, because I actually cleaned the back of mine the other day.
Oh, I did mine on Monday because we had people around yesterday, so I cleaned mine as well. So who is he talking about? He's going to say both, isn't he? He's going to say both.
Yeah. I'm just going to take the win. He noticed that I put the effort in this week and made it look cleaner. Right. Any other questions here? So Jay's asking. No, he's asking Hayley how Hayley's tank is. Anything else here? Right, I'll flick through that while you're answering the next one from my other list. So, favourite fish and favourite coral.
Okay, favourite fish changes all the time, but actually the one that it seems to be more than often than not is my lipstick tang, my Naso elegans. Beautiful fish, best fish I've ever had. So I'd probably have to say that fish. Just so peaceful as well, very peaceful. Absolutely beautiful fish, especially she's here now. She's there. Just the more, if you get the fish under the right light, they've just got so many unique features and definite. It's almost like a perfect drawing of a fish. But saying that, I do really like the Picasso clownfish as well. Picasso triggerfish. Apologies. I do really like that fish as well. But yeah, it'd have to be the lipstick tang. And the favorite coral I have, I'm not much of a stickhead, and I am getting a lot of messages more so these days of people going, when are you going to get Aqua? When are you going to start doing this? And I've always been the tank is quite a very like minimalistic setup. It's a negative space system where fish have more space to swim. If we go closer to the tank, you'll obviously see the coral that's in there. But it has to be pulsing xenia. And I just think pulsing xenia is just such an incredible like coral, the way that it just exists, and just axe in the water, and if you get, I don't know why. And what Tony Vargas showed me when we were down at Coral Freaks was a really bright yellow Pulsar Xenia, and I was just like, wow, like how do we get hold of that? I don't have any Pulsar Xenia because it's almost a weed in the way that it grows and spawns, but I really enjoy Pulsar Xenia the same way I do my torch corals as well. So I really love Euphilia particularly.
So maybe that's a new tank. You can have a Pulsar Xenia tank.
Well, this new system here is going to only be Acropora. I'm like, right, okay, you want Acropora? Let's do it. So I'm like, there's nothing going on in that tank because I'm literally just getting that rock ready to rock. Like, just take your time with it. I'm not in a rush because I've already got a fish tank. Usually you like rush it, don't you? But I'm like, no, I'm just chilling here. I'm gonna get the bacteria in, dose of ammonia, no fishing. Just let's get it going.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Next one I've got is about your inspiration. I know this is one that was given to me, this question, but I am very jealous of how creative you are and how you can just, from even things like the fish in the wine glass.
Okay.
It's just such a unique little twist that sets, makes it look different, makes it stand out. Where do you get all your inspiration from?
Well, I do really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Because obviously I put content out quite a lot, but not a lot of people say that. So it's not often I hear that. So I do appreciate that. And I suppose inspiration. I spent a lot of years in the music industry as a guitar player. So I was always creating music and doing session music and stuff like that. And then got into production, and you have to be quite creative. You have to think outside the box a little bit. And then I did YouTubing before I was a fish nerd, and I was massively inspired by somebody called Casey Neistat. I can't remember how you pronounce his surname, but he's a YouTuber who inspired me to just. I don't ever script a video. I rarely plan the videos. I just kind of point and shoot and capture the energy. If I'm feeling the energy, point and shoot. Just see what we get, and we'll fix it in the edit. So I tend to be inspired by, other creative minds that aren't necessarily in our industry, if you like. But there are so many YouTubers and Instagram accounts. There was one, what was his name? Reefer NYC. Back in the early days, I saw, because I was on Instagram before I created an Instagram, and I was really interested in fish, obviously, because Dad was doing fish, and I was always interested in fish. And I saw his Instagram come up quite a lot, and I was like, I like that. And it was music and fish, and it was just nice. So Reefer NYC, I think his name's Brian. He was if you've not checked his account out, you'll see what I mean if you go have a look. But like a combination of things, really, into the pot. But there isn't much planning or any planning in the videos. And if you should see the outtakes. I think I might do a video on the outtakes. Like, oh, fuck, I said it wrong. No, it's not that. No, it's not that. No. Start again. It really isn't scripted. Yeah. Genuinely, I don't script anything. I just point and shoot.
Yeah, so I tend to bullet point the things I want to cover, and then just talk, and then edit it. And quite often I'll say something, and I'll just like say completely the wrong thing, or get a word wrong, and like be really brutal with myself, calling myself all the names under the sun.
Yeah.
Take a breather, and then do it again. And I think it's just frustration at the time, especially when you've made the same mistake 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And then when you get to editing it back afterwards, and you're hearing yourself swearing at yourself, it just makes me chuckle.
Yeah, I do. It's often a followed by dick or whatever. Like, why did you say that for? And then I genuinely have enough cuts to do like a bloopers, and it's ridiculous. Like, why have I've done a full video once where I've said everything wrong because I was thinking about something. It could have been about it could have been about manganese or whatever. And I've gone, no, I've said it wrong. And then I don't get around to filming it again because I'm sat there ready to edit. I've put the card in. I've got a beer. We're ready to rock. oh no, we're not, because everything's wrong. So I'm like, well, I'm not doing it again because the lights have gone. The lights aren't right. My makeup doesn't look right. I'm not doing it. Stop happening.
Yeah, I once did a video and did the whole video, put it out there and everything, completely pronounced the distributor's name wrong.
Yeah, you did. Zoltan.
What else have we? We've got another one in the comments actually. Top picks for a 4-foot tank.
Is that for? Steve? Is this for both of us, or is it just for me?
Yeah, well, let's. You're the guest today. I'll let you go first. What would be the first things you put in?
Into a 4-foot tank? Probably what's in behind me. No, I think want to upgrade from my water box. I think he's asking for a pic of a 4-foot tank. Is that right? Dan's Reef?
You might be. Dan's Reef, drop us a comment.
Well,
did you mean pictures or? I'll
answer it in a nutshell. I have absolutely fallen in love with the Opus range because of the cabinets. I just love them. The way that they sit, like the ones behind me. I took the door off this because I have to show my self-made DIY control board with the effects on. But I do love the way this tank sits. I like tanks with less disruption for aquascaping, and I like quite a lot of minimalism in a tank. I had the Red Sea 325 before, and it had the weir box coming out, and it was just annoying building around that. And then I had the Neptunian cube, and when we moved, I shut that down. And then I've obviously got the Nios, which seems to be, I mean, I've had no issues with it, touch wood. So the Nios Opus for me is definitely my favorite tank so far. If I was to stock it, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, you can go so many ways with this. Sorry, I keep looking at this screen because the camera's here, but you're here. So I'm like,
yeah.
So the Nios, the fish I'd put in, or the corals. I mean, where to start? I mean, I love Euphilia. I absolutely love Euphilia and LPS coral. So I'd probably just go down that route. So as mushrooms, LPS. But then again, what if you want a predator tank? What if you want fish? Triggerfish. I'd love to have triggerfish. A guy that I speak to regularly on Instagram has just got an octopus. And that's put thoughts in my head that need to quickly get out. They need to leave my head.
Yeah. They're escape artists, aren't they? I don't know how I'd feel about putting an octopus in.
One of my favorite animals, apart from the golden eagle, is a cephalopod. I just love them. I absolutely love them. But I saw he had this like tiny palm-sized octopus. I was like, is this possible? Pick up the phone, started Googling it. Ideas are going in the head, conversations are having, and I'm like, no, we need to just take a step back here.
Put the phone down, move on.
Yeah, and jellyfish as well. Like I'm tempted to go down to have one of the little jellyfish setups as well. I really like jellyfish. They're the closest. I think Jamie Craig said it actually as well. Coral freaks, the closest relation to coral as well. So understanding them. I would literally have an aquarium if I had the space and money. So specifically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We've got another one that's definitely for you here. What you're dosing?
Hi Gary. I'm dosing Modern Reef RKS, the 4-part solution, and I have behind the board. There's another two-head dose. No, there's a single doser dosing the Polypop and Complete Reef food, which I've got on a mag stirrer. So it doses. You're supposed to feed this once a day in conjunction with RKS. It's like a complete reef food, and what it does is actually on the mag stirrer it mixes at 9:33 for a minute, and then it doses at 9:35. So it's really because I was really tight with it. I thought, right, how can I get this on one head, because I don't have the space to have two heads at the minute. So I put them together. Checked with Ali from Modern Reef, and he says you can. So it mixes and doses just after. So, but the 4-part solution, the main 4-part is RKS, which is the reef keeping system from Modern Reef.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Next question. Let's pick one off of my list here. What's the hardest part of the hobby for you?
Ooh, I quite like this actually. When asked questions, what's the hardest part? I think it's just trusting the process, isn't it? It's there's so much information that we get and have access to as reefers that we can have an idea in our head and go, right, I'm going to do this, and then you'll read something or someone will tell you something, and you'll be like, oh, maybe I should do that. And I suppose it's trusting the process. Like if you've done the research and you know what you want to do and want to achieve, not straying away from what you're currently doing, because that's what leads to all our problems. But this tank, the way I've set this system up, when I started 4 years ago, I was very active, every weekend and stuff, testing the water every other day. And then now I'm doing tests once a month because of Trident. I kind of automated the system as much as I can. So I would say, if you'd have asked me a few months ago, I'd have probably said all those things. But I think it's probably just not getting swept away by the abundance of information that we have access to, and going off on a road to something.
Yeah, it's difficult when you see a new idea come out to not just immediately think, right, I'm going to change everything and I'm going to try that new one. Because I think the biggest thing that I've learned since having my tank is the thing that everything in the tank likes the most is consistency and stability. Yeah. So changing between different methods, different dosing schemes and things like that. Yeah, I mean, even changing salt. So, I was talking about changing to the NIOS salt. That I'm thinking in my head, do I want to not just stick with this one, keep it consistent, but then am I going to miss out on something way better by not trying it? It's that whole process in your mind, isn't it?
And I think the reason I answered that question the way I did is because I'm just setting up a new system, and there are so many different approaches to setting up a new system: fish in, fish out, ghost feeding, this, that, and you get so wrapped up in all these different ideas. And I just think and obviously, as we said earlier, I will very likely, like, who knows next week what will happen. If someone tells me that you can have an octopus in a 250 litre tank, and I measure a gap in my room and go, oh, that'll fit there, and I'll go on Marketplace or whatever and I'll find a tank, and then someone's stocking octopus, and I'll go, oh, I'll have octopus now. And it's just the impulsion, isn't it? And the spontaneous actions we take. But the running the tank is so easy. Like, people say to me, how hard is it to run a reef system? And the way that I've got it set up now, and I'm sure you've been doing it long enough, you'll agree, it's once you fine tune the system, it really isn't that hard.
Yeah. So before I had marine, there was a bit of a gap, but I had a 4-foot African Malawi cichlid tank, and I imported the fish, and I used to breed them and sell on the F1s and everything from that. And I would actually say that it's marginally more effort maintaining the cichlid tank than the marine.
Yep. The only reason I'm agreeing with, we got tropical fish after marine, and I don't have tropical fish now, so that tells you.
Yeah,
it tells you.
Yeah. And Rob's got a good point, and I'm the same. I like to keep busy. I like to have things to do, things to learn about. So tinkering is like, I love tinkering.
I know. But when you've got something in your tank monitoring your ORP and it goes down, and you think, why is that suddenly shut down? Because I've had my hands in there messing around with stuff. You soon become conscious of, like, no, okay, maybe tinkering is fun though. Like, I tinker a lot with the nano tank, like constantly mess around with that. In fact, this weekend I'm getting the mounted rock off the back onto the ground, and I'm creating a massive NEM tank. But I try to avoid tinkering now because I'm like, the apex will notify me that something was wrong because I've put my hands in and messed around.
So I've still got. I did this a similar route to you. I got a Fluval Evo, and that sat just over the side there, near where the camera is. And it's currently it's got all of the Chato from my Refugium from this tank, because I thought I'm going to try it without any Chato or anything. So I put it all in there, and I've got a pair of pipefish in there that are breeding. Yeah. And you know, they've got a load of eggs again. So I don't know whether they're a lot bigger than they were the first time. So I'm hoping we get a bit of success this time. I'm
watching this closely, by the way. I'm regularly looking forward to the updates. I'm like, I want to see this happen, you know?
Yeah. So I've got a ton of videos that I've recorded each time stacked up. But what I want to do is I want to get it to a point where I've got a video that shows you the tank at the beginning, all of the stuff in the meantime, and then some babies that are alive.
Oh, really?
And not just, so, you know, I haven't got to that point where they're alive. So the first batch they had, there were 3, but they didn't last very long. I've got a lot more Chato in there now because they seek the light immediately when they're born. They swim up to the top of the tank, and then the adults swim round and they go, "Oh, that looks a lot like a bit of frozen mysis shrimp." Oh, and it's gone.
What, the parent?
Yes. Gosh. Yeah, so that tank's it's got some snails, a conch, and 2 pipefish. That's it. And the parents eat them. So.
Wow.
But now they've got lots of hiding places. I'm hoping this batch is better. It's got loads of copepods in there and everything, so should be some food in it as well. The
biggest challenge is probably going to be feeding the young pipefish, isn't it?
Yeah.
As they grow, like, they need different sizes of food.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm waiting. I don't want to start a batch of rotifers or anything until I know that they're going to successfully have offspring. When we get to that point, I'll then make sure that I've got rotifers ready, and then I can put them in the tank, and then they'll have food and everything. So I'm getting there. We've got a few more steps to go yet.
No, it's awesome. I love stuff like this. I love like genuinely invested in. Is it going to work? Because I want to do something like that. You know, like I've always thought about doing the nano as a clownfish breeding tank, and then it was the food and stuff that put me off. And then just been too busy to care for however many hundreds of baby Nemos, as the kids keep saying. So
it's fun. So I use that as my kind of experiment tank. I want to try things. I did actually notice. I noticed all my conch all grouped together every now and then in my main tank, and they're basically having like a massive orgy. And when they move afterwards, you can kind of stick your hand into the gravel, and there's like a big jelly sack full of eggs.
Yeah, I find that quite a lot.
So I've been putting them in the Fluval to see what happens, because I've noticed I've got a baby conch in my main tank. So I think most of them are getting eaten, but one of them has survived. And I've also got some snails that have actually survived, and I've got a baby snail in there as well. So I'm thinking, I wonder what's going to happen in that Fluval now, that because there's very little to eat them in that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they'll grow quite a few in there. Yeah.
I just picked my phone up because there was something in relation to the conch that I found the conches were gathering like they do, getting ready to get down, you know. But the hermit crab was there. And I've never seen this before. Have you ever seen a conch hop like a rabbit? Have you ever seen that? I didn't get my camera in time, and the conch was literally. I'll try get it up on here. I managed to pick the camera up, and the conch literally hopped from the middle of the tank to this side all the way to the back. I found the video. I'll just try to show you on the camera. I've never seen this before. I've not yet done an edit with this yet. So can you see it there?
Yeah.
1 second. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I picked it up quite late as well, and it goes on for a bit through the back of the tank. So what the hell is up with it? And then I just saw the hermit crab with the other one, and then the other one started doing it on the other side. So I managed to film a bit of it, but I've never seen a conch move in that way ever.
Yeah, I mean, mine do that to move around, but they tend to just do it slowly. They don't kind of go hop, hop, hop. Yeah.
Like, cause I don't know if it's because it was small. It literally is airborne. Like, you know, ollies all the way to the other side of the tank. It's crazy. So yeah, we could talk about conches.
Yeah. Yeah, who'd have thought it? What else? So kind of relate. The last question was about the hardest part of the hobby. The next one I think kind of goes quite well with that. Is what's been your biggest failure
in the hobby?
Yeah.
Probably. Probably. I'd probably say not having my corals growing the way that I want them to grow as quick as I want them to grow. You know, you can be very critical, can't you? I think probably like not probably. I suppose it's back in sort of the earlier days when, well, you could even say the stripies were a failure, a recent failure. Is rushing into something that probably if you've got that feeling where is this going to work, and then like getting the thing that doesn't work, and because I'm me now, I got up the next day and I was anxious all night thinking I shouldn't really put 3 more fish in this tank. The nitrates are just starting to be where I want them, and now I've added 3 fish. But I thought, it'll be fine because I can do X, Y, and Z. And then obviously then getting up and seeing them eating the Acanthophilia and realizing, I've made a huge failure there. But do you know what the best answer I can give you is probably not starting sooner. As I said, I've been interested for so long. My biggest failure is probably not starting this journey sooner, because I'm probably and obviously being in the industry and being at more shows and doing more things, you often with people who have been in the industry for a lot longer than you have, and you feel a bit kind of overwhelmed at times with stuff. But at the same time, I'm also learning every day something new,
Yeah. And I do quite enjoy it. Like I said earlier, I quite like to have something to do, something to learn about, something to tinker with, especially if it's some kind of piece of equipment. Quite like all that side of things. So yeah, I love doing all of that.
It really is 21 questions.
Yeah. So I have got a couple more questions, but to break it up a little bit, I looked for kind of some news, the things that's been going on this week to share, and it was a really slow news week. So I've got 2 things to share. Let me see if I can click on the right button there. So yeah, a Tunzi Osmolator Nano with a 5-year warranty. That's about the only thing that I've seen that's particularly news. And then this one stood out to me today. I don't know how much you believe politicians. Probably not very much. But yeah, apparently the energy bills in Britain are going to be cut by £300 on average by 2030, which, given we all probably use quite a bit of electricity, will be handy.
Yeah, I still think that's quite a long way away. It's not that hard, is it?
Yeah. Well, I'll take anything. I'll take not going up.
No, I mean, I came across. Speaking of news, I came across the 2. I don't know how they're getting away with it, to be honest. The is it J-Cod? Oh, I think it's them or Jabal.
Yeah.
Who are doing the knockoff MP40? There's a knockoff MP40. There's a knockoff Hydra. There's now a knockoff Stratton. They've knocked off the Stratton.
Wow. Yeah, I've not seen that.
I saw that today, and I'm just like, and it is such like. Well, I saw it actually. It wasn't that long ago, because I'd finally just got done what I needed to do. I was just like, I'll just catch up on everything, and I went, and I don't know if you can find that anywhere, Steve, and pull it up on the desktop, but I don't know how you would find it. So, and I don't know where my phone's gone. This is my video phone. Oh, it's here. Yeah, seriously, I don't know if you're looking or if anyone else in the chat has seen it, but
Yeah, the problem is they can't call it a Stratton, I'm guessing. So
No, but it's
yeah, I don't know.
it looks identical. I'll find it and I'll put it in the story or something. But yeah, it's just like
Yeah, I know that.
Go on. No, you go.
So I know they've been doing the Radions. I've seen that they've been knocking off the Radians now as well, but yeah, I've not seen.
Yeah, I've seen them as well.
I've not seen the Stratton. That's wow.
And
yeah.
the prices, like, so for instance, the MP40 that they've done, like that price for that is 200 and something, and it's like, well, you're not getting the controller. Like if you see my two MP40s now in anti-sync, it just looks nice. They work together through one app. I know that's got an app, but the controller looks awful. I think there's some suction plugs. I might be wrong, but I've read there were suction plugs that actually keep it onto the app.
It's suction cups and magnets, so it's both that hold it in place.
I'd just rather, if you're going to spend 250 quid, I mean, it's not like you're spending 100 quid on because you can go get a decent power head from a pet shop, or if you're for 100 quid. If you've got 200 and something quid to spend, I'd rather just spend the extra bit and get the real McCoy.
Yeah. So I did notice that they were doing the DMP. They haven't even really changed the name much, have they? The DNP 40.
I was like, what is this? Like, how can they do that? It's like going to Aldi and seeing, it's not Snickers. What do they call it? Tiger or Lion or I don't know what they do. But they date like Aldi. Yeah. They're doing what Aldi do with all brands, aren't they?
Yeah. So I noticed that they've got the price down to like 120 quid now for the MP40 clone.
They've got it down.
But I also know, it's because basically if you can get it under 130 something quid, you don't then have to pay import duties. Yeah. So there's a real push to get it under that threshold. Because if it goes over that threshold, you then have import duties you have to pay when it comes in the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Dan's Reef has put in the comments as well. Yeah, 120 quid posted.
Okay, so what if you get your new DC MP40, whatever it's called, and it busts or it breaks? What's the warranty like?
So I'm told that the warranty is with AliExpress as well, but I think there is legal action against them from some of the things I've seen.
So there should be. I don't. My advice to anybody thinking about it is just don't do it. I've always been a tight person in my life, and I always pay twice. Pay once is what my dad said to me when I was a little boy. Just pay once, and he used to that was back when he was keeping fish tanks, and I didn't listen actually in the early days. I just got secondhand equipment or cheaper options, and you end up buying again, don't you?
Yeah, you can do. I mean, I've got quite a few bits that have been secondhand. Like that Nero 5 I bought that arrived today, that was secondhand. But the guy listing it said it was in the tank for like 6 months, and it turned up it's completely spotless. Didn't even have any coralline growing on it. The only downside was it was missing that NEM guard on the back.
It's easy to fix.
But yeah, there's other things that I think. Yeah, I'll just buy that. Just buy that new, buy the genuine one because it has to be a significant price difference to make it worthwhile, I think.
Yeah, my partner, my missus, put it into a really simple way for me once when we tried to get anything but fairy washing up liquid. It's like nothing's as good. I'm like, yeah, true, nothing's as good, and it's the same. And it's just like, yeah, fair enough. And that was a really good, simple analogy that made me go, okay, yeah, buy it once.
Yeah. What else have I got? I did notice, let me put the banner up. Guys at Deep Blue Marine Emporium, who were at Aqua. I don't know if you saw them when you were there, Steph. They were quite near the Exeter stand. And they're actually good enough to let me store all my crap on their stall while I was at the show as well, so I didn't have to carry it all around. They've got a competition running, free to enter competition on practical fish keeping. So if anyone fancies trying to win I think it's £150 mystery box or something, yeah, there's a link there on the screen. Come back to my questions. You'll be happy to hear we're almost at the end of the list of questions. The interrogation is almost over.
Yeah, have I got the job? When do I start?
Well, we'll have to all go away and talk about it, and then we'll get back to you.
It's not a good sign, that, is it, Steve?
What's the best reef shop you've ever visited or event?
The best reef shop? The best
reef shop or event?
Oh my gosh, easily Top Shelf Aquatics in Orlando. Easily.
Okay.
Top Shelf Aquatics. I was very lucky, and I went to Worldwide, and I was absolutely blown away. And then I went to a few other stores, Living Reef in the area, but it was just what work they're doing at Top Shelf that really just blew me away. You know, the farm they've got, the aquaculture facilities, and the store layout, and just the way everything's presented. But I mean, it's quite close, because Top Shelf is like the Apple store of reefing. It's very clean. Have you ever been, Steve? I'm not sure if you've been over.
No.
But actually, iReef, the new store that's opened in Rochdale, obviously it's Andy's the manager of the store. He used to work at Radical, so me and him have always kind of spoken. And I'm not just saying this because of that, but it's got a very similar feel to the stores in Orlando. And they're doing aquaculture. They're going to start doing live rock the way the Germans do it. So if Coralhead's in the chat still, he knows about that as well over there. That's pretty cool that you know, the way they have live rock with sprinklers on, so all the pests escape the rock, and you have just true clean live rock. They've told me they're going to start doing that. And there isn't many stores in the UK. Obviously, AAC is our flagship store in the UK for saltwater. And I think they've been inspired a little bit by what they've done as well. But overall, it has to be Top Shelf.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
An event would be Reefapalooza all day. Like, that was the best.
Yeah.
That was the best.
Is it not a bit soul destroying in those places to not be able to take anything home with you?
Yeah, 100%. Like all in my video, it was like, oh, I can't take anything back, and the camera was rolling. That's why I put it in. And the guy's going, "You can get a Canthophilia in Australia." I went, "I'm from England. What are you talking about?" Like, we don't get a Canthophilia in the UK. And it was just like heaven, you know, like LPS galore, massive Acanthophila, Scallies. And I think I was in such a state of like genuine excitement and overwhelmed, like feeling overwhelmed. I was missing so much. So I was luckily there for 2 days. Managed to go back and find more. Jason Fox was there. So many stalls were doing, like, do you know what was the really painful thing about going to Reefapalooza? Having like a £20 mystery frag. And like seeing people pull out like ridiculous corals that were worth way over 400 or 500. And this was happening regularly, because I was like, you know, like there for a bit watching. I was like, I can't play. Do you want a ticket? Hey man, you want a ticket? I'm like, nope. What's the point? I can't do it with it. I thought of everything to try and overcome this. I thought, how do I get a coral? No, it's not going to work. And then again, how do I do this? No, it's not going to work. So yeah, Orlando is the Disneyland for us. For sure.
Okay. Cool. So, Coralhead, is that the guy from White Corals?
I don't know.
The store over there.
It might be. Yeah. I think it is. I'm not sure. There's only a couple of Coralheads I want to have my children. Could be one of two.
No, it's just.
It's lots of mums.
When I was recording Jamie Craggs at Coral Freaks, I caught Paul and Ange telling the guys off from White Corals for talking, I just found it quite amusing that because I was sat behind them and they were kind of just whispering to one another, and you see Paul kind of tap out, and she's like,
I wasn't there. I must have left, so I didn't see that.
Right. I think we're down to the last couple of questions. So 3 questions left. What are your thoughts on Aqua 2024 and the news so far that's out for 2025?
I think it was a success, Aqua. I think for us in the UK, having a show on that scale hasn't really been done, and I think it was overall a success. It would have been nice to have seen, I think, more shops and livestock for sure. I was particularly looking forward to the reptiles as well, but I didn't get to see much. I think I saw a couple of snakes, pythons, ball pythons in the corner, but that was it. So I'd love to see a bit more livestock there. And I did actually film lots of really good stuff at the event, but I don't know if you saw an update I did. My SD card snapped. I came home and never got anything done for that. And there was so much I had, which obviously would have put my thoughts together. But yeah, it was a really good show, and I think everyone who came, without people that came and bought tickets, it wouldn't be happening again next year. So I'm excited to see what happens next year. I think we go to these shows, and as I said, I've been to Reefer Palooza and seen how the shows are done there. People come for the abundance of corals and livestock, and there was some decent stalls. There was one just at the side of the chap you had on a couple of weeks back, Digital Corals.
Yeah, that was Prestige Reef.
Is it? No, the one.
Oh, behind him, Vision Aquatics. Yeah,
had by far the best corals at the show. They were unbelievable.
They were, yeah.
The only stall that I was interested in on the Saturday, and then I went back on the Sunday and everything had gone. So it's like I did manage to get a nice banana torch when I was there from him, but that was incredible. And just sort of being able to see more stuff like that would be awesome. But it was a success, absolute success. I think everyone had a really good time. What did you think? Have you already?
Yeah, so it was way busier than I was expecting it. There were points on the Saturday where I just couldn't move. Yeah, you couldn't walk around. It was you just had to move along like herding cattle. Yeah. It was really good to see all the people. I had the same thought as you, though. It would have been really good to see more livestock, more fish, more reptiles and things like that. Things that we weren't expecting to see. Things that we haven't seen before. That kind of thing would have been good to have more of. There was a good selection of coral. I think it would have been nice to have more, but I think there was a really good selection. And I think that's one of the things with Aqua next year. They've already announced that they've got the licenses to have livestock sales.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So I think that'll pull in, because if you're a reptile shop and you can't sell any reptiles, well, why are you going to go? Yeah, there's not a lot for you in it.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, opening it up to allow them to sell, there's going to be a lot more in it. They're going to make more money from going. It's going to be more worthwhile.
Yeah, agreed. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent.
Snap my SD card this time.
Yeah. That's like the worst nightmare.
You use the same camera as me, so in that DJI camera, I literally had it in this, pulled it out, popped to get the SD card out, and the end came out, and I went, "What?" So then I kind of put my nail in to get the rest of it out, and it snapped at a point which couldn't be repaired. I was all over Leeds trying to get that repaired. So, yeah, I was very disappointed.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, so I always, when I've done a few things like this in the past, I'm gonna, like, at the end of day one, I put my SD card in, I copy all of the stuff onto my computer, and then if it breaks on day 2, at least I've got day 1 footage.
Yeah, I've learned a lesson for sure.
Yes. So, penultimate question now then. Coral Freaks 2025. Who do you think? Who would be on your dream panel at Coral Freaks 2025?
Ooh. I mean, it's hard because the panel that we're on this year were insane. It was an insane set of guests. I'd love to see. I think it'd be really cool to see like someone like Vic from Worldwide Corals over, because obviously they have a huge infrastructure over there and do sort of similar things to what Patrina and Than do. There is. I met somebody out when I was in Orlando called Kerry, who was at the Florida Aquarium. She also does a lot of similar work to Jimmy Craggs, obviously, spawning. In the Florida reefs, it's quite critical what's going on there with El Nino and the temperatures rising. And when I was absolutely fascinated with what she was telling me the work they're doing, and obviously she runs that facility there. So again, I think I'd try to mimic what happened this year, and someone talking about the similar stuff, and I think it was a really good balance. And then we'd need someone. Who else? I mean, this is a tricky question. Who else?
Well, we've got some suggestions from people. So see what you make of them. Tom's saying Chris Meckley.
Okay.
And then Rob has also said Chris Meckley and Kerry O'Neill.
That was Kerry who I just said from Florida.
Yeah, and I see Matt has just commented it the same as me. I think it'd be really fun to see March there from Fragbox. He's just got such insane amounts of energy, and I think it would just be non-stop entertainment. I don't know whether you could have any other panel members with him though.
you would have a very similar guest panel. You'd have a Canadian, American. We'd need a British person. So who would we get from Britain? The UK. Who would we get?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, I'm quite new. I'm quite new at this whole marine thing. So I don't know, and I'm terrible at remembering people's names. But for me, I quite like, rather than having like a big panel of quote experts, I quite liked the aspect of Aqua that meant that I was just walking along and I saw Jay and we stopped and had a chat, and I saw you who shouted my name, but you weren't talking about me. But you were after Steve from Exodus, and I turned around because
You're my favourite Steve, don't worry.
But it's those interactions that I really like. Just going and meeting new people, chatting to like-minded people and things like that. So, I would have maybe a shorter session with the panel, and more time mingling with each other, and just generally having those interactions with people.
I agree. I think I really enjoyed it, and I in fact I would either be happy with either, because we have Aqua, we have Love to Reef, and we have these other shows, and I think AAC are doing another show this week. I've just seen with pizza, beer, and a live audience or something. But again,
so that's online, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just like flicking through the feed and going, "Oh, I'll come back to that." And typically with Facebook, you go back to it and it's gone. So just reminding me. I need to go see what that is, because it'd be fun to join that one.
So because I looked at this, so when we were talking, when you couldn't make the Wednesday and we were talking about another day, I said, well, we can do Tuesday or Thursday, but Tuesday would be better because AAC have already got something.
Oh, is that what it is? Right, okay.
It's this. So it's on their AAC TV YouTube channel. And it'll be interesting to see what that is. I think that will be a good evening.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you said that, because I didn't realize until like literally when I was speaking to you, I finished up what I was doing, and then I only had an hour before I jumped on here. So I managed to just go through what's. You can ask me questions. I need to know what's going on. I'm like, oh. No, I'm joking. I did only just come across that recently though, so I didn't realize it was Thursday. So it's this week, yeah.
Yep.
I wonder what there'll be. Yeah, that'll be good. I don't know what to expect.
Oh, this is a good idea. For any show, I guess, but maybe for Cold Freaks, you know, having workshops and showing people how to snap open your Aquapora to check for eggs and
That was a bit
how to ID pests.
That was a barbaric process. Just it's quite simple.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, Paul's never going to go for this. He's never going to let someone break open one of his corals. And I just happened to be by the Acro Bay when Jamie came in. So yeah,
I was leaving, and everyone was just gathering around, and I went, okay, I'll go see what's happening. And I just missed the actual, showing the eggs. I missed getting that on the shot, but it looked good.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So last question then. I'm going to hate myself for this one. I'm going to use the C word. Christmas.
Okay.
It's too soon to be talking about Christmas, but Christmas, reefing Christmas presents. Anything on your list?
Oh, definitely Trident NP. I'm hoping that's because that's landing out, very soon. I'm hoping to get my hands on that for sure. I think, to be honest, I'm really happy with everything else that I've, like I just said, the way I've got everything set up. I think I just want to fill the gaps with little pieces of coral. So I did a few testers in the tank. I thought there is some higher points in this system where I thought we could get some Acropora up there, or other SPS types in there. I would like to maybe pick up a few more pieces. I think coral, but it's an impossible present to buy, because how do you wrap up? I'd love to open a box and it be a coral and not socks or links, but unfortunately it's not going to happen unless I know about it before Christmas. And what else? I don't know. I probably need to get a lid for this aquarium here, this new one as well. Maybe see if I can wangle a lid as well out of Santa this year, because that's going to have a few wrasse in there. I'm not really stocking fish in that system, so it's just going to be wrasse. So I don't. What's on your list? I guess you're moving house. You're going to be having more space. Are you going to get more tanks? I mean,
so I'm definitely going to go for a new tank. I've been toying with the idea of the Red Sea Reefer 525 or 625 and the DD 1500S and 1800. I also like the Nios Opus, and I like the one whose name I always forget, and you mentioned it earlier. You had it before the Nios. Neptunian, yeah. I really like the fact that the weir box doesn't intrude into the tank with those two.
I think you've got. I mean, is it? What are you looking? Are you looking for volume? Are you going with because obviously there's quite a scale of volume between all those systems.
Yeah, so I need to look at how much space I'm going to have when we move, but I'm pretty sure I can easily fit a 6-foot tank in. But I think the DD 1800 is the 6-foot one, and all the others are 5 foot from memory. But I believe it looks a little bit, I don't want to say odd, I don't want to offend anyone that's got one, but the ratio of height versus length, it looks shallow because it's the same height as the 5 foot but 6 foot long.
Right.
So I need to go and see some in person.
Yeah.
To make that choice now.
So have you? Well, that's quite a good opportunity to ask. Have you been? Have you been to iReef yet? Have you seen Rochdale?
No, it's quite a drive for me.
Well, they have them on display. So they have them all on
Yeah.
display. So you can actually get a feel for the tanks. And I was actually surprised at a lot of people pointing out about the knockoffs, which I've completely not thought about when I talk about the tank. But it's really easy to get in. It's not super high. It's just kind of like you can lean over and get to the back, whereas usually I have to get a step ladder and trying to fish out anything that's fallen off the rocks or whatever. But that came from people just going into the store and actually going, I'm looking at this and look at this and like this. And I overheard someone say that, and I didn't think of that. So I think you do well to actually go and see tanks in person for sure.
Yeah. I definitely want to go and see them all before I buy one. But I'm also the same. So I've got an Apex, but I don't have a Trident or a Trident NP. I would love both.
I was going to say, if you've got an Apex, that surely has to be on your list.
Yes.
And I think had NP been out at the same time, I mean, I test my nitrates and phosphates more often than I do the others. I probably wanted the NP first, and it just looks really cool. It's like that, like really nice black and orange stealth, and I don't know. I'm hoping, and I'm confident that I'll get that, but we'll see. I don't know, and I've been pretty good this year, Steve. So fingers crossed. We'll see.
So I've seen some comments in the chat. I'm going to put Rob's one up, and I don't know whether I know what Rob's like. I don't know if this is a wind up. But Santa Claus crabs. I don't know if this is some kind of joke about catching crabs from Santa Claus or not.
Depends if he engages with Santa when he visits the house. I don't tend to. I'm usually knocked out on Baileys and brandy when he's come down that chimney. I'm not.
And then Matt's asking, "How's your tamarin?"
He's all right. I got a few comments about the tamarin actually. People saying that they don't do too good, and I was worried the other day because we didn't see him, and obviously the next day he'd come out. They tend to hide away in the sand, but no, the tamarin is okay. I don't know if he's in there now or where he is. He seems to be doing all right, but I don't really understand what the big concern is with him. No one really elaborated on why they'd not had success with him. Was it feeding? Was it just I don't know. But no, it seems to be all right. And I really like the tamarins because they are like very similar to a gem tank.
Yeah, they do look very nice. But I've heard the same. I've heard a lot of people kind of say, "Oh, yeah, they're a bit tricky," but not really heard why. And I think Matt had one and had problems with it. So maybe fussy feeders. Yeah,
well, I will be, of course, full transparency. I will update socials with my woes as I usually do. If he isn't okay, but fingers crossed he is. I don't want to lose any fish.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Bit delicate. Okay.
Right. So it's the delicacy. Yeah, it seems all right. Seems okay. A lot of people. I must mention as well. I had a bit of grief in the comments than when I did the reel, because obviously we do reels. We don't always film the full process of fish, what we do, but people asking about quarantining fish and things like that. And I actually have said in the comments, I haven't got a quarantine system set up, but the process of buying a fish and the same process with that tamarin is to observe the fish in the store, feeding, observe the fish, check its gills, check its, the way it's behaving and things like that. And then the way that I run the system with the UV and obviously having the water maintained and the feeding program, etc., etc. I've never had an issue without. I mean, I don't know if you quarantine fish, Steve, as well, but I had quite a lot of people like really going for the jugular with this, and I was like, hang about. I haven't just gone and got any fish and gone, that'll do. I'd love an Achilles tang or a powder blue, but I just wouldn't risk it because.
And I think there's also arguments of the stress of quarantine versus the benefits of it. I don't really know what the right answer is. I just don't have a quarantine tank.
the thing that changed my mind on it, because I did quarantine fish, is I wiped out my system in the early days twice, and each time I wiped the systems out was from a fish that was in quarantine. So I stopped quarantining, and the reason I did that is I was having a conversation with somebody, another reefer, and we kind of like was talking about, having a beer and stuff, and going, think about it, right? This fish has been pulled from the sea, right? Thrown on an aeroplane in a dark box, then put into a store in a tank with other fish, kicking the life out of it or whatever, and it's super stressed. Then you're going to get it home, and you're going to put it in a system that looks nothing like their natural environment, and then finally you put it in your tank. And how it compromises their immune system is the kind of thing we were talking about. Now, I'm not saying to not quarantine fish. If you can do it, and you can do it in a way that is not stressful, but the only reason I'm saying that is because a lot of people did comment on not quarantining the fish that I put in the system. But again, I applied the same steps and process that I've done with all my other fish, which I've had for 4 years. Unfortunately, that regal tang is becoming a whale. It's going to have to go soon unless I get a bigger system. So I've had that fish since it was this size, and it's the way that I've always done it. And I think the UV sterilizer and the feeding high quality nutritious foods and making sure the tank's peaceful probably is a lot to do with that. But we don't all have facilities like Andrew Sandler from Polo Reef, who has a massive room to quarantine fish. So, it's interesting you don't either, but you've not had any issues with adding new systems. You've just got one, for instance, yeah?
Yes, yep. Yeah, and it crossed my mind. I think it's a lot of people have been talking about it, Reef Dork and Prestige Reef. They do a podcast every Sunday night, and Alex's tank. He had a situation in his tank and lost a lot of his fish, and he's talking about quarantine, and he set up a quarantine tank, and then started treating them, and then the copper treatment. Some of them were a bit old and they died anyway, and you start to well, I'll speak for myself. I started to look at the whole thing and just thought, I wonder if you could really analyze it, how much difference it makes, the stress versus the quarantine.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, most stores will use a therapeutic amount of copper in their fish systems. I think that is that responsible stores will use. But ultimately, I think if you're buying an animal, whether it's a dog, a cat, fish, coral, I look at things, where the corals are, corals and fish. I kind of like to just really analyze this, the actual animal itself without thinking too much about what I'm going to do once it gets home. Is it looking healthy now? Is it feeding? How long's that? One of the things I really like about iReef is the corals attack them. Well, obviously it's quite new, so it's still still in development, but it's tank hardened corals. So corals that have, really spent some time in a system, growing, maturing, and it's things like that I'm kind of quite conscious of, because I don't want to. Every coral's an animal, So if a coral dies, I genuinely feel a bit crap for a little bit of time after. And fish as well, massively. The fish for me, especially like when I just spoke about my lipstick tang earlier on, and my regal tang. They when you have fish from this big and they're so interactive with you, like they're like puppies. They'll come up to the side of the glass and they want to get the food and whatever, and they'll watch us. And the mags. There's a funny story about the mag, but we'll save it for another video because they watch you sometimes. But I just think if we do our due diligence in actually analysing and looking at the animal that we're purchasing, do we want to? Someone said something that was really interesting. It's like unnecessary, like the copper quarantine systems is kind of like unnecessary treatment for healthy fish, which can do the reverse of what you think it's doing if the fish is healthy. But I never looked into that. I never really gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of what I've talked about here about quarantine, I am no expert. I'm probably the opposite end of the spectrum. You know, I do what I know how to do, and I do things as well as I can, and I try and think of the interests of the fish and everything. But there are people out there that know far more than me. If you want advice on reefing quarantine or not, go speak with them.
And we're not saying, just for the record, we're not saying not to quarantine fish. I'm defending something that has been something that's come up this week, and I thought it'd be interesting to ask you, with you having new fish as well, if you've done the same thing. But
yeah, interesting. I see, a couple of comments in here. Rob Pelagic is, quarantines every fish.
Yeah.
And then Steve Webb said that Rob's obviously done some videos on the quarantine process as well.
Yeah, so, I think I've seen them previously actually as well.
Yeah, I don't think I try and I do try and watch most of Rob's videos. I don't think I've seen that one, so maybe I haven't gone through his back catalogue yet. So I'll have to get my way to that one. And I think that's all of my questions. Your interrogation is over. We'd like to offer you the position.
Well,
when can you start?
Is there any questions you'd like to ask us? Well, yes, there is actually, Steve. Is there anything that you feel like I could have been much clearer on in this interview? No, it's been fun. It's put me in a weird. I didn't realise it was lots of questions just for me. I thought we were just going to catch up on our woes of. But yeah. It's been good fun. I think just to mention, it's great to see. I know your channel's quite new. Or certainly I've only just come across it quite recently, and I think it's great to see how active you are, attending shows, supporting the hobby. So kudos to you for that. I said the same thing to Paul and Jay. Paul obviously set up Love to Reef and stuff, and I think that I think it's great. More people seem to be more interested in the industry and the hobby now. I'm seeing new accounts coming up, and it's nice. It's really refreshing. And I think the more people that get into it, the more the more we'll all thrive as an industry, really. If we're all growing corals successfully, But no, it's been good fun. It's been good fun. Is there anything that you want to ask me before I get a start date, or I get paid?
There was one question in the comments actually that I'll ask you, and if you can, I don't know how possible this is, but while you're doing that, I'll answer another question in the comments. Someone asked if you could do a close-up of your tanks.
What now?
Yeah, I don't know whether you're on a laptop, how movable it is or anything. So
I'm on an external webcam here. That's why I keep looking here. So I can't, but you can just look at my Instagram account.
Yeah, that might be an easier way. Yeah.
I could take you over, but two things. It probably will look rubbish because it's a blue. It's going into the bluer spectrum now.
Yeah.
And I could try it, but I might end up disconnected. So I don't want to disconnect again.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I've posted stuff on Instagram, which is very fresh. There'll be something going up tomorrow, which is fresh. So yeah, you can see the tank on that as well, for sure.
Yeah. And TikTok, check you out on TikTok as well. And YouTube.
YouTube, and I endeavour to. I keep doing this, but I never keep up with it. I'm trying to get active on Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, I am not, and will never be on X or Threads, or it's too much social media platforms that man cannot simply manage. TikTok, Instagram, obviously very active on Instagram, and YouTube, which we've got lots of videos coming on YouTube. I did a few. I've got some tank tour series coming up, including the new tank there, how I've set that tank up, what equipment I'm using on that, and hopefully you can follow along for the journey on how that goes. Again, it's Aqua, so it's going to be a tricky, bumpy ride, I imagine, but full transparency, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, excellent. So, and you are the Yorkshire Reefer on all social media?
Yeah, it's the Yorkshire
But,
Reef.
yeah, I have the same thing. Everyone tries to tag me in the chat, and they tag me as East Coast Reefer, and it never works. It's because it's the East Coast Reefer.
Yeah, and a lot of people keep saying to me, I've searched, oh, I met you at this thing and I've gone to your shop. I'm like, what shop? Yorkshire Reefs. I'm like, that is not my shop. Like, that is a shop. That's not my shop. So I don't know if Yorkshire Reefs have had anyone going, oh, I met you on this thing, or I met you there, but yeah, the Yorkshire.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming on.
You're welcome.
It's been great to chat with you and to interrogate you. Thank you very much for being a good sport and answering all the questions. Yeah, it was a lot of questions for you, so thank you very much.
No problem, Steve. Keep up the great work, and thank you everyone who joined. And I guess, as I always say, there's plenty more seeing the fish.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you again really soon.
Bye, buddy. Cheers.